I don't really believe it myself, guys, but we've still got more things to talk about with the Nintendo Switch 2. The reason why this is crazy is because somebody like me doesn't usually do multiple videos about a specific topic like this unless the topic has something that's worth discussing. Now, there's a couple topics that I do want to go through today, but first and foremost, you guys have probably already seen that the Nintendo Switch 2 has been delayed from the US because of a certain orange man and his tariffs. That is insane. However, a Canadian such as myself has no such issue. I did want to confirm a couple things with those of you that do plan on making your own pre-orders, whether it be at Best Buy or Gamestop or Future Shop or whatever store you use. First, one quick tip is The Source, which used to be called Radio Shack. It was called The Source, and it is actually a pretty good tech shop here in Canada. It's also a store that people highly underestimate when it comes to new game systems and stuff. The funny thing is when I got my PS5, I got it through The Source because nobody had gone there, so they just had like a crap ton of them. But where the Switch 2 is going to become a little bit problematic is because they have this weird online store versus physical store purchase thing. I've had a lot of back and forth conversations with people that work at Best Buy and GameStop and have been able to track down kind of an answer. So Best Buy, I would clump into the same category as Walmart, which is to say that on April 9th, next Wednesday, the store shop is going to go online at 9 a.m. Pacific time, with the stores opening an hour after. And the crazy thing is that they're a shared inventory with both the offline and the physical store, meaning that if you wait in line, there's a good chance that by the time the stores open, they're already sold out. This is so weird to me that they don't have a separate inventory based on pre-order demand. But GameStop, on the other hand, kind of gave me an answer that they're trying to drive people into the physical store, so they're going to have a limited quantity of pre-orders available online, and then they might have a separate quantity of pre-orders in the store. What this means is that the best odds of getting a Switch 2 next week is going to be standing in line for the shop to open while messing around on your phone and seeing if you can pre-order it online beforehand. But okay, let's move on to the next topic. Game prices. This is the big topic for discussion with a lot of people complaining about how expensive all of these games are, despite the fact that we don't know what the price of most of these games are yet. Certain games like Mario Kart is going to end up being $80 US, which is going to translate to roughly 120 Canadian dollars for me. But to take things a step further, apparently the physical version of the game is going to be $10 more. Which means that the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle is actually insane because you're getting a $120 value video game for $50. Now, the thing that is the most concerning to me that I'm not seeing anybody else talk about is that the physical games will actually end up coming with a code that you would then be able to use on your Switch 2 to download the rest of the game because the entirety of the game can't fit on the small cartridge. And what scares me about this is whether or not that code is then going to be locked to your system, meaning that there would be no reason to get physical copies of games anymore. This is something that Nintendo has been very unclear about, but I haven't been able to find a definitive answer online, so I really hope that we can still resell our physical games. This might be a weird way that Nintendo is trying to stave off resellers, but it would also be a way that they could almost force up the price of their games, keeping them at a steady value and making sure that Nintendo gets most of the profits. But something else worth mentioning is that not all Nintendo games are created equal. The Donkey Kong game, for example, apparently is going to be $70 US, which makes me wonder what the Switch 2 edition of Metroid is going to be. But the takeaway from me is that if Donkey Kong's cheaper, that means the games might finally have a fluctuating price point, with Nintendo charging big money for their bigger games. But it might also just be the fact that they don't really have the confidence that Donkey Kong is going to sell well enough. But again, it makes me really curious what Metroid is going to actually sell for because we still don't have a price or a release date for it. Now, earlier the other day, we ended up having the first of the creator's voice, which was Miyazaki talking about Dusk Bloods, and I had a video talking about that. But the cool thing is that these creator voice things are supposed to be happening every week with a video going onto the Nintendo YouTube channel. And if we scroll down right here, we can actually see the upcoming installments. So these are going to be the various games that we'll get interviews for. Now, another thing that we haven't really seen people talk about that much is the accessories. And this is where I want to take a moment of pause to mention that the Nintendo Switch 2 website has all of the information that people are clickbaiting you with. What do I mean by that? Well, I ended up getting an email from Gamestop, for example, that showed pre-orders start on April 9th. And then it had the accessories for the console all blurred out and hidden, like, ooh, click to see more. Meanwhile, on the Nintendo website, they're all already right here. Unfortunately, we don't have an actual price point for any of these, which kind of sucks, because if I'm being perfectly honest, the only accessory out of these that I'm even slightly interested in is the webcam, just because I think it would be funny as hell. It really depends on the price though, because I wouldn't be willing to spend over $50 for this thing. Anyways, that's pretty much all the things I wanted to discuss with you guys. Sound off in the comments what you think about all of this stuff. Again, I'll put a link in the description to the actual Nintendo website, which has all of this information so that you don't have to go through 50 different videos from other content creators. And I think other than me making a video showing you guys me pre-ordering the console at some point, this is probably gonna be the last of the Nintendo Switch 2 related content on the channel, at least until the console comes out in 2 months.